Good morning. Yes, it's late morning here in Maryland, but good morning to you. I'm not sure what your day so far has looked like, but I hope that if you need to begin again, that perhaps this encounter, this conversation, might just be the opportunity to breathe, reset, and begin again this day. All month long, I'm talking about this metaphor of blooming. And so I wanted to start today's story time with a poem from my favorite go-to book for yoga inspiration, and that is The Poetry of Yoga, Light Pouring from Pens. These words are offered by D. Riley Besh, entitled Bloom. Never forget that you longed for this. Even as you begin to complicate your contemplations, considering the many substandard sensations existence tends to thrust upon one in those withering early hours of the morn. Even when marigolds, amidst the overwhelming fields of springtime's finger paints, occasionally entertain the notion of calling in sick, yet somehow still manage to rise to the occasion and bloom. What I take away from this poem is a bit of, hey, I know you think a lot about the things in your life, and sometimes it's not about thinking about them to understand, but it's about showing up. It's about putting action based on strong intention. And that's what I want to talk about today, is that often we can get so compelled in the practice of yoga, in the practice of mindfulness, to live so in the moment that we forget how to also use every moment, every ounce of energy to, yes, create this invitation, this space that opens us to receive inspiration, to feel the effects of love and joy, but to also know that every piece fits together like a puzzle to create our whatever's next, our future. Now, holding these two ideas at once can get a little bit cumbersome. And so it's helpful to have a strategy, a plan. In fact, I call that plan a life's work plan. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Because it encapsulates this philosophy of intention, attention, and putting that into action with the daily practice of cultivating a life of blooming, a life of opening, a life of becoming, by prioritizing what matters most, our values, our self-care, and then choosing wisely the actions to execute on a daily, monthly, even annual or decade basis. Now, what is it that this poem brings to us? It invites us to not just look at blooming as a choice, but also as an inevitability. We are designed to bloom. And yet we have habits that often keep us in a bud, keep us closed and tight. Maybe that's because we're focused so intently on what's now that we're not preparing for what's next. And sometimes we get so preoccupied with what's coming, what's potentially possibly coming, we call this anxiety, that we fail to ever live in the moment. In my newsletter, my weekly communication with my community, I talked a bit about death is not our enemy. Death is not the antithesis to life. Not living when we have the opportunity to do so, that's the real sorrow, the real loss. And so blooming is that metaphor that says, I'm going to choose to show up. I'm going to choose to bloom even if in this season my bloom looks a little different, right? Maybe I open a little later, meaning I sleep in the morning. Maybe I even need a little more alone time versus connection with others time. This is the balance. This is the ebb and the flow. And as we repeat our practice, we cultivate this intimacy with truth based on compassion. This is the 8 limbs. The yamas provide that foundation of the philosophical base for our daily toil, for our practice. And we want to start with compassion or ahimsa as we progress towards truth or satya. But this is only the foundation to move through the rest of the limbs that Patanjali offers, from the yamas to the niyamas, to the asana or the posture, the place that we choose to place and settle our bodies. Then we reconnect with the pranayama, the breath. From the breath movement, we turn our senses inward. This is a good reflection of not always looking to the future, but looking to the now. Part of that, pratyahara, is turning inward to listen to our own inner wisdom, to listen to our own body, mind, heart, breath. From that turning in, we tune out the rest of the world. Now, where do we get the confidence to tune out the rest of the world? We create a calm, abiding space. We create a little nest, a haven, in which we know we can be fully present inwardly in the moment because we've done the work to make it safe. Part of the work to make it safe is the life's work plan, having an intention put into the strategy so that we know what needs to be done on a daily or weekly or monthly or annual basis. Once we've turned our senses inward to pay attention to what is here, we then can slide into, as Patanjali says, the next 3 stages of meditation: the focus, the flow, and perhaps touching samadhi. But we can't chase samadhi. We can't chase bliss. If you've ever tried to chase a butterfly, it's exhilarating, it's life-filling, and yet it is often unfulfilled. The butterfly can go higher and faster and move away. Inspiration is a lot like the butterfly. If we be in this moment, if we still ourselves and surround ourselves with plant life, with flowers that attract the butterfly, we may just have butterfly land on our shoulder or our hands or in front of our gazing view, in which case inspiration finds us because we did the work of carving out the space to just be. And by carving out the space to just be, we can be in that space more intimately when we've settled, when we've set a plan in place, so that we can truly be in this moment, not worrying, not anxious about what is yet to come. This is the benefit of the Life's Work plan, and I teach it in much of what I do here at Life's Work Yoga. But fundamentally, it's part of learning to live intimately this discipline of yoga. So it's a key ingredient in inspired living and part of the yoga living program. Maybe today it was hard to get out of bed, hard to choose to bloom. What if we redefine blooming as just opening to what you're ready, what you're capable of today? Not every bloom is going to open to its fullest. In fact, sometimes that partway bloom of a tulip is even more beautiful to me than the full-on falling open. But beauty is the whole process, from the planting, the cultivating, the nurturing, the sprouting, the leaving, the tight bud, to the full-on open, and even to the petals falling off, landing, decomposing, and beginning the process again. This is the journey of living, because every day dawns again, a new start, a fresh start to begin again. The challenge for us in the practice of yoga is to find those milestone moments, those moments that say, inspiration has arrived. And those inspirations that say, I can begin again. What does your day look like? How can you show up and breathe? Because that's all that's required. I promise you, if you show up and breathe, inspiration is going to find you. You got to trust the process. Let's bloom. Let's breathe and become. May you breathe deeply and move freely, labor lovingly, and live vibrantly. And if I can be of support for you in this journey, please reach out, whether it's a practice, a program, or a specific coaching addressed question that we want to explore together. Let's connect and see if we can find a way to continue this conversation of supporting you in your process of blooming, of becoming, of living your yoga. Namaste.